Hello and welcome to another episode of 10 for 10, 10 sports topics with the News 10 sports team. I am sports director Kevin Haas alongside sports anchor and reporter Brian Rudman. Brian, let's just jump right into it. And again, you can follow along with our trusty rundown on the side of the screen there. We're starting with the World Series, and it's a tough one for Capital Region sports fans. The Dodgers win it in Game 7, and obviously we talked a lot about closer Jeff Hoffman. He'd been so good. The Shaker grad has been so good for the Blue Jays throughout the postseason. Game 7 was a different story, and you got to talk about it. It's not something that it's a fun thing to discuss, but Jeff Hoffman does give up the home run to Miguel Rojas in the 9th inning, and they were about to close it out, and that ties the game. They go to extras, and the Dodgers are able to close it out. And a disappointing end for the Blue Jays, and I'm sure for Jeff as well, for a guy who had meant so much to his team, pitched so well for them.
Yeah, it's a tough way for things to end for the Blue Jays, no doubt. I mean, they had this game, they were leading in the 9th, and then Rojas comes in and hits the home run, and that kind of came out of nowhere. Everyone, I know Tommy and I were sitting here at our desks and watching the game, and we were already thinking ahead because Ohtani was on deck, and we were kind of thinking ahead, and then Rojas hits the home run and kind of flips the game on its head, and it's an unfortunate way for it to end, and for a guy who meant so much to his team and had pitched brilliantly throughout the postseason. I mean, even with the home run, just 2 earned runs in 12 1/3 inning pitch. It's going to be a tough one to remember. People are going to remember this home run because it's obviously so impactful, but, a brilliant postseason from Jeff Hoffman through and through.
Yeah, it stinks. It stinks that's what a lot of people are going to remember from this postseason, and not the fact that, like you said, he had a 1.46 ERA
right
throughout the postseason, and that's the stuff that the part that's going to get remembered. Not to be lost in the fact that it was a phenomenal game, and we'll get to that in a second. But it also just is important to remember that these are humans who are going through this as well. Because I even talked to Jeff Hoffman's dad before the World Series after the ALCS, and he talked about some of the things that get sent Jeff's way or their family's way that I won't even go into detail, but. It's important to remember that it's just sports. These are real human beings that everyone makes mistakes. And he left one over the plate and they got hit for a home run. But, he pitched so well all postseason long. And like I said, I mean, just an absolutely phenomenal game. Yeah. If you take that aspect out of it, which none of us wanted to see, for the World Series to go down like that, an 11-inning game, it's one of the greatest baseball games that you're ever going to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a World Series where I think a lot of people were kind of iffy on how good this World Series was going to be, I think a lot of people thought the Dodgers were just this beast who were going to roll into Toronto and just take care of business. And the Blue Jays played a great series. And I mean, when you talk about a World Series, Game 7, awesome. You had an 18-inning game. In Game 3, the series goes to 7, and then it goes to extra innings. I mean, these were just two teams that were very evenly matched and just battled it out, and it was entertaining from start to finish.
It absolutely was. I mean, when Bo Bichette hits that 3-run homer, it kind of felt like, maybe the Blue Jays are really going to do this. And then it goes, the Dodgers kind of claw their way back into it. Both teams, I think it's important to note, because this is another thing, and not just saying this because Jeff Hoffman is our guy and we wanted to see him do well. There were plenty of opportunities to win that game for the Blue Jays throughout. They had men on base after Jeff Hoffman gave up the lead. They had plenty of opportunities to add to it beforehand. Game 6, they could have won at home. They had that opportunity. So, again, while we're remembering that these are real human beings and to keep it offline and keep your thoughts to yourself, these are, there were other people involved that could have stepped up or could have made that play, and they still could have won the World Series.
Right. That home run from Rojas is going to get circled because it's in the 9th inning. But there were moments, like you said, in the first 8 innings for the Blue Jays to add to that lead. And even in the bottom of the 9th, right, it was, they had runners on. There was bases loaded. There was the play at the plate where Rojas made a great play, and the Blue Jays were a fraction of an inch away from winning the World Series. And I think, once again, we talk about Will Smith's home run, and we're going to talk about Rojas's home run tying the game. Those are the moments that get circled, but in a year we may not remember. The Blue Jays had their chances to win. This isn't just Jeff Hoffman giving up the game. This is, the Blue Jays had their opportunities as a team, and the Dodgers just found a way to win. And credit to the Dodgers because they are a phenomenal team, and they found a way to get it done when they needed to.
And talking about, Jeff, a big part of our story going into the World Series was how he's battled back through adversity throughout his career. And I have no doubt that he's going to do it again this year or next year when he comes back. I'm sure he'll come back ready to go, and this Blue Jays team will come back ready to go. I mean, we already saw Shane Bieber opt into his contract, who could have gotten more money elsewhere because he wants to be with Toronto, and I think they have something special there. Obviously, they're going to try to re-sign Bo Bichette, who's going to get a lot of money, but I'm excited to see what happens next year, and I have no doubts that Jeff's going to bounce back strong from this one. And
absolutely.
Also, we just don't like to see the Dodgers win the World Series. Let's just be honest about it.
Listen, I'm a Red Sox fan. Yeah. The Blue Jays are in our division, but I was rooting for the Blue Jays because I was, as much as I love Mookie Betts, I was ready to see someone else win the World Series.
We got to take a quick break, but even on the bye week, the Jets are leading us off next. You're on 10 for 10. All right, Brian, welcome back to 10 for 10. I like how I basically just welcomed you back.
Yes.
Because we are talking about the New York Jets. And a lot of moves for the New York Jets. A lot of unexpected, some more expected. I think the one that was really unexpected, the Jets coming off the bye week, it seems like maybe they won't make a lot of noise. And then at the trade deadline, they deal Sauce Gardner for 2 first-round picks to the Colts, which is phenomenal value, which we can get into. They then trade Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys for a second-rounder this year, a first-rounder next year. They also got 2 players in those deals, defensive tackle and a wide receiver. I will let you go first because you are a resident Jet fan here on 10 for 10. What did you make of not only the moves themselves, but what it means for the New York Jets?
Yeah, I think let's start here. Good value. You mentioned it. These are trades that when you're 1-7, when the Colts called Darren Muji and offered 2 first-round picks and a young receiver for Sauce Gardner, who, as good as he is an expensive player at cornerback, you can't not make that move. I mean, he got great value for Quinnen Williams. Those are good moves in and of itself. I've seen some Jets fans happy with where they're at and the fact that they're stockpiled draft picks. What are we doing? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
This is a team that is in the midst of the longest playoff drought in North American sports. I was 10 years old the last time I saw the Jets play a playoff football game.
Not good.
Not good. Not good at all. They're 1-7, not ending now. You just traded away 2 all-pro level players. Once again, good deals, can't not take those. But when you look at the state of this team, yes, they've stockpiled draft picks. That's great. This team is not going anywhere this year. We're starting the rebuild over again next year. And when you look at it, where are we going? What is there to be happy about? Yes, we have capital to go draft players. Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams are the players you're trying to draft.
Yeah.
Those are top 5 picks who you want to draft.
I will say it does reset. The way that they did it, because here's another part of it, is that they just re-signed Sauce Gardner. So it's like you thought this guy was a part of your future, and now less than 6 months later, you're trading him away.
It was in August. It's like 3 months later. Yeah.
But 3 is less than 6.
It is.
But
this is true.
But this is a guy that you thought was going to be part of your future. I will say the way that they wrote the contract, where they basically get out from all the guaranteed money, was pretty smart. So they obviously, it almost felt like they knew that this could be a possibility. So the value, the way they resets their money. So yes, you want to bring in those talented players, but you also can get cheaper players, more players. So all of that makes sense. It just signals again, where this franchise is at. It's like you shouldn't have been in this position to have to reset this hard, because they do have, or they had talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and that talent has equated to nothing.
Right.
It is equated to 1-7. So now you are in a position where you do have to. Draft picks are basically lottery tickets.
Right.
So you're basically, taking a swing that you're going to get another good player. Like,
Right.
I mean, we talked about it earlier in the week in our sports corner, but like they traded Darrelle Revis for 2 first-round picks.
Right.
They used one of those picks on defensive back,
Did nothing.
D. Milliner,
Yeah.
and he stunk.
Yeah.
So you still need to make those picks count. I will say the value that they got is incredible. They control the next 2 drafts, not just because of they might not make all those picks. They can
Right.
they can trade up. They can move around. They can. I mean, there's already talks about if a veteran quarterback comes free, they'll have the ability to be the kind of the first in line for any veteran player that is going to get traded.
Yeah.
So they do control a lot. They'll have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-rounders this year. Then they'll have 3 first-round picks in the next NFL draft. So I will say those moves are good value, but you can't celebrate.
Yeah.
Hey, we're so bad at 1-7 that we have talented players to get first-round picks.
That's what gets me, is that it's like we're celebrating being 1-7 and restocking the war chest, which is great. We have the ability to make moves, but like you said, it's a flip of the coin. And the last time we did this, great. It was Jamal Adams who got a big haul. And what did the Jets do with those? They drafted Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, and Breece Hall in the same draft. But guess what? None of it matters. We're resetting again because they couldn't figure it out. First, it was the quarterback. Then last year, they couldn't put it together. They had the talent. Aaron Rodgers performed in a way that I thought was what they needed him to do last year. They just couldn't put it together. And Joe Douglas had a great draft. He just missed on the quarterback. And guess what? It means we still haven't seen playoff football.
Yeah,
in
it'll come
15
down
years.
to whether they get the quarterback.
And they're going at the end of the day, now you're going to draft a rookie quarterback this year, probably. And you're going to put them into a relatively bad situation and a situation where you're going to be losing a lot of football games.
It could be, and it's the Jets, so all signs point to it will be. But you also, I think it is important to at least give Muji a chance to show that, Idzik had a lot of picks, but Idzik was terrible at picking. So like that, let's see what this guy can do. The first draft class looks relatively okay.
Yeah.
So like, let's see what he can do picking the groceries, so to speak. It does mean that Aaron Glenn's going to be back. I mean, you can't really justify getting rid of him now. Which I mean, and that leads me to Aaron Glenn, and it's hard to be. He's put in a lot of tough spots, partly because he stinks and the team stinks. Sorry, right now at least he could be great, but right now he stinks. Yeah. He said yesterday, we're recording this Thursday, so it'll be airing Friday. So he said on Wednesday that he wants this to be a team that the fans are proud of, but he never said they're going to be proud of them right now. Not true. Just not true. Yeah. He was the one who, when he was hired, he said at the NFL Combine, I'm here to win now. Yeah. And he's got all this bravado, and he's the tough guy, and he's being rude to the media, and I'm here to win, and I'm the big bad bully. And now all of a sudden they're 1-7. He's tucking his tail between his legs, being like, I never said that we were going to be good now. It's like, yes, you did. He also said on September 2nd, someone pulled the quote, what would a successful season be? Being a team that this fan base can be proud of. So literally, you couldn't say the exact opposite of what you're saying harder than Aaron Glenn just did. And again, there's not a lot you can say when you're 1-7, but what you can say is, listen, this has been a disappointing year. It's not where we want to be.
Right.
We want it to be a team that that we want to be proud of, and we're not that right now. But don't say that you didn't say that we were going to that you were going to be that team. You did say that. Yeah. You said you were going to win. Now you're not, and now you're completely reversing course.
Yeah, so, I feel like we have this conversation every week about something Glenn said.
He shoots himself in the foot constantly with things that he says.
Yeah.
And he's trying to still be like he's Bill Parcells. He's won one game in the NFL. He's won one game against a Bengals defense that couldn't stop you and me running halfback power. And now he wants to be like, it's the attitude of like, it just bothers me. And more so than the attitude, like, we are in an era where, like, everything's on the internet, Aaron Glenn. This isn't the 90s when you were playing where maybe you could get away with this kind of stuff. I don't know. everything's recorded.
Yeah.
We have receipts everywhere on what
Yeah.
you say and what you don't say. So just stop flip-flopping. And also, stop with the I'm not naming my quarterback thing.
Yeah, that's
we
ridiculous.
all know Justin Fields is going to play quarterback.
You won your only game, and he was a key piece.
What a shrewd operator this guy is. Oh, he's like Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells, reincarnated. You've won one game. We all know who the quarterback is going to be. And that leads us to they are playing a game this weekend. As much as we're talking about
we
the
can
trades.
get back to football.
They're playing the Browns. I mean,
boy.
what a game that is. What a
thriller we're going to see at MetLife here.
Dylan Gabriel, Justin Fields, Jets, Browns. And the Browns are now 2.5-point favorites.
Rightfully so.
Against the Jets because the Jets have traded away their best players. And again, to be fair to the Jets, they did get a lot of value, but they put themselves in this position.
Yeah.
If they had prepared better this season, they had enough talent to be better than this, where they wouldn't have had to reset the way that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem that a lot of Jets fans have is why are we in this place again? Why are we this bad? And the last thing I'll say about it is you are now, like we talked about the quarterback, you are now trusting them to pick the quarterback. These are the guys who thought it was a good idea to give Justin Fields $30 million. And that was not a great move. So
not a great sign.
They haven't picked their quarterback yet out of a college draft, so we're going to give them the opportunity to do so. That was not a good start. It was not. It was not an encouraging start.
No, I think it's certainly discouraging. To your point, that there's enough. I've had these conversations with friends who are Jets fans, and my family who's Jets fans, and there was enough talent on this team to stumble into more than just one win through 8 games, right? Like, there was enough talent on this team to win the Broncos game, to win the Panthers game, to beat the Dolphins if they had the chance. They were in the Steelers game. If you're like, this team could have and should have, if they were 3-5, you're not trading Sauce Gardner, you're not trading Quinnen Williams, and you're looking at this in a very different light of when we draft the quarterback, can it be a Jaden Daniels with the Washington Commanders situation, or even a Jackson Dart with the New York Giants situation where you get the right guy and in a year you're maybe competing.
I will also say this is going to be a good test for Aaron Glenn to see how these guys play for the rest of the year and how much do guys just outwardly quit, because you just traded these players away. Breece Hall he said it wasn't true, but it seems like he wanted to be traded.
Right.
Didn't get traded. He's now unhappy and is going to be a free agent.
Yeah.
Jermaine Johnson was another guy who kept hearing his name. He put out an awesome tweet that was basically like,
I love that.
It was an encouraging thing, but like,
who knows?
It's easy to say that now. Let's see how you play for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And then you have Quinnen Williams' brother, who's the linebacker, Quincy Williams, and now he's being benched. His brother just got traded. Yeah. So there are a lot of unhappy people in the Jets locker room, and they're 1-7. And if they fight the rest of the year, then it's like, okay, Aaron Glenn's got this team playing, and if they quit,
it's a good point, because Aaron Glenn kind of seemingly wants to be what Dan Campbell was, right? With Detroit, where it was a slow start, but he turned it around and he had his team fighting. And I remember I was fully convinced the Lions were going to be a really good team when they went into Lambeau and beat Aaron Rodgers to keep the Packers out of the playoffs in the last week of that season. So we're going to see how much this team fights, because if they kind of just lay down the rest of the year, it's not a good sign going forward for where Aaron Glenn has this locker room.
Yeah, he's no Dan Campbell.
No,
but,
no
we'll
doubt.
see. We'll see.
I'm just saying it seems like he kind of wants to take that trajectory with the team.
We're moving on to the Giants. Really not as much going on with the Giants as there are to the Jets. They are in a spot where they're coming off now a loss to the 49ers. And it's 3 losses in a row since that big Eagles win. Injuries, they didn't really add anybody. There was a lot of talk about could they add a Jalen Waddle, from the Dolphins, a receiver for Jackson Dart. They didn't do that, which I think is a mistake. Not just because, listen, they're not contending this year. They're 2-7. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But it would have been, we talked about it last week, nice to give him some weapons for him to develop. Because you look at it, he still played well against the 49ers. Yeah. And that was with, nobody out there. Like he was 24 of 33, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He had 8 rushing attempts. He led the team in rushing with 56 yards and a touchdown. He was doing it all, and there was a lot left out there, plays that weren't made. Darius Slayton had a big drop. I mean, again, if you're looking at Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Theo Johnson, Gunnar Olszewski, and Ray McLeod as your receivers, not good. No. So they are in a spot where, again, it's each week, how did Jackson Dart play? That's basically what it comes down to. How did Jackson Dart play, and did this team quit? Did they play hard? Those are the things that you're looking for a Giants fan. They didn't quit. They didn't play well. Jackson Dart did play very well.
Yes.
And it continues to show that they have seemingly a stud at quarterback.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you're a Giants fan, I think you kind of just take a step back and say, all right, if we had won the Broncos game, maybe you're kind of still caring really about wins and losses. I think you're obviously, if you're a Giants fan, you're rooting for this team. But the main focus is on how Jackson Dart does. And the one thing I've been really looking at is, and back to your point about getting him some weapons, there's not a lot around him, which means he has to do a lot. And he's going to play in a very aggressive, somewhat reckless way in terms of the way that he takes hits and runs around. That, to me, is a little bit concerning with a rookie quarterback, because right now he's trying to do everything. And you start worrying about him taking some hits, because he's made great developmental steps. And the one thing you don't want to see is this guy get hurt. So while he's been doing great, I think, I know Brian Daboll needs to win games to save his job, but you really can't afford to let your quarterback get hurt.
He's got to. I think that in general, he's going to have to learn how to play a little smarter, because you just can't play you can't have a 15-year career,
right? And take
lowering
hits
your
like
shoulder
that
into people and playing like the way he's playing.
Yeah,
it's inspiring to see, but especially now with them being 2-7, and I mean, a lot of talk is going to be about Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, and it's just getting to a point where this is, I think, their second or third year in a row starting 2-7. You just can't have those kind of results.
Yeah.
You just can't. I mean, it's sure, if they go on a run late in the season, maybe things will change. And I saw some people being concerned that, but Daboll really likes Dart and they work well together. Well, they're 2-7, so it's not working. You're going to be looking at a spot. There are going to be plenty of people who can look at Jackson Dart and say, I really like Jackson Dart, and I can work with Jackson Dart.
I think at this point, there are going to be, next year, there will be 32 head coaches who say, I like Jackson Dart.
Yeah,
I think
Brian Daboll has had success with Jackson Dart, which we'll see what he does for the rest of his career, and Josh Allen. So
right.
Not exactly the toughest jobs in the world.
Right. Seemingly two guys, and also two quarterbacks who like to run the football, too.
Yes.
Which adds just another element.
We're going to see. I mean, listen, it's not a great sign when the Giants' top headline on ESPN is Giants vintage white Broncos throwbacks lead NFL Week 10 uniforms. So when your uniform is the heavy hitter on the ESPN webpage, that shows where you're at in your season thus far. And we're talking uniforms. They play the Bears. They are, now 4.5-point underdogs. I think that started at it started at 3.5. I thought it started at 2.5. Either way, they're underdogs on the road against Chicago, which makes sense. Chicago 5-3. I think this is a game that they can be in. I don't think Chicago, they're one of those teams. I mean, they beat the Raiders by 1. They haven't played a lot of good teams. I think that's a game where the Giants should not get blown out. If the Giants get blown out there, that is a problem. As we're watching, as we're on Dart Watch and Daboll Watch, for Daboll, on Daboll Watch, it is not a good sign if you go into Chicago and get your brakes blown off. This is a game that you got to stay in, and I think that they will. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking a huge win for the Buffalo Bills and another one for the Patriots as well. Welcome back to 10 for 10, and we are now talking Buffalo Bills, an absolutely huge win over the Kansas City Chiefs, 28-21. This was the game. I mean, that even feels closer than it was. It was, the Chiefs scored 8 in the fourth. This was a game I think everybody had circled on their schedule for the Bills. Bills hadn't played a lot of tough teams. The Chiefs have been red hot. I think a lot of people thought that the Chiefs would win this game. I think this is as much of a statement win in this point in the season as you can have for the Bills. Also because they answered a lot of questions with, I think the biggest question was about their defense, and to hold this Chiefs team to 21, again, 13 going into the fourth quarter, was very impressive. Only 300 yards allowed. They stopped the Chiefs running game, which had been very successful to this point in the season. Mahomes kind of got some of his at the end, but Mahomes 15 of 34. I mean, that you just never see Patrick Mahomes under 50% completion percentage. Where you look at Josh Allen, 23 of 26, 273 yards and a touchdown. And I think what he showed is, at least in this game, he didn't need a number one receiver because they didn't get one at the deadline. They were able, Kincaid had a huge game, 6 catches, 100 yards, but he kind of spread it around to everyone, and they ran the ball well, and that was kind of their recipe for success, running it in defense.
Yeah, I think this was about, like you said, this was about as big of a statement as the Bills could have made. They came out, their defense executed the way they wanted to. They ran the football really well, and Josh Allen was efficient. This was everything. This answered every question we had about the Buffalo Bills, right? We've been talking for a couple of weeks. Well, they struggled against the Falcons. They came out, they beat a bad Panthers team. This is it. They showed everyone what they're made of, and they showed they're still one of the teams to beat in the AFC. Not that there was really any doubt about that going into this game, but they kind of just reaffirmed that they're still one of the top dogs in the AFC. And we talked about it. They're going to need to run the ball efficiently. 114 yards for James Cook, over 4 yards a carry. Josh Allen was efficient in the passing game. He spread the ball out, got a huge day from Dalton Kincaid. And when you don't really have that number one receiver, that's kind of what you need. You need someone to step up in these big games. And it seems like the Bills, time and time again, like to go to that tight end spot to get some of these in some of those big spots in some of these big games. And this is a very promising win for the Bills. It keeps them in the AFC East title race, which is big, about, making sure that there are some games in the playoffs and in January that are going to have to go to Orchard Park. This was just everything that I think the Bills and Bills fans wanted to see from this one.
Now I'm going to play devil's advocate because we sung the Bills' praises enough, and again, it was a huge win. It was a regular season win.
Yeah.
In 2021, they beat the Chiefs 38-20 in the regular season. They lost to the Chiefs in overtime in the playoffs. In 2022, they beat the Chiefs 24-20 in the regular season. They did not play the Chiefs in the playoffs. They lost to the Bengals 27-10. In 2023, the Bills beat the Chiefs 20-17 in the regular season. They lost to the Chiefs 27-24 in the playoffs. In 2024, they beat the Chiefs 30-21 in the regular season. They lost to the Chiefs 32-29 in the playoffs. My point is, this win will mean absolutely nothing if playoffs come around and they lose to the Chiefs again. It answers some questions about what this team is and what they are capable of. But that is not, after the last couple of years, that's not really as much of the question. It's not going to matter unless they do it in the postseason. It's not going to matter if they beat. No one's going to remember that 28-21 win if they come around and they have to play Kansas City again and they lose again to Kansas City in the postseason. So I think that there is reason to be optimistic about what this team's capable of, but they're just going to have to prove it. And this is what sports are all about, but they're just going to have to prove it in the postseason. Otherwise, it's just going to be like any one of those years.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We've gotten to the point with the Bills where it doesn't matter much what you do in October. It's going to matter what you do in January. And until Josh Allen and Sean McDermott can prove that they can win in January and win the big one and actually finally punch their ticket to the Super Bowl, these wins don't matter. I think this one does matter a little bit more than in years past because of, A, how good the Patriots have become and how this isn't just a foregone conclusion that they're winning the division. I think that there's a little bit more to this game because they needed to get that home field advantage to set up the playoff run. But you're right. When we get to the offseason, it's not going to matter unless they do it in
I think
January.
it matters in terms of the division race. And as we always say here on 10 for 10, we'll get to the Patriots in just a second. But I think there are past seasons where it mattered a lot to we beat the Chiefs, we beat the boogeyman, and especially after that overtime loss, we beat the Chiefs in the regular season. Here we go. This is our time, and it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
I also do think, talking about the trade deadline a little bit, I do think that they could have benefited from going out and getting a receiver.
Yeah,
and there
absolutely.
were receivers to be had. Rashid Shaheed went to the Seahawks for a 4th and a 6th. Could the Bills have been involved in that? I think that Brandon Beane had said that he was honestly was expecting to make a move and it just didn't work out. So they must have tried, but Shaheed would have been a perfect guy to stretch that defense. That's the kind of guy they have. They have Shakir underneath. Coleman's he had a huge first week, but since then has not been very good.
Yeah, Shaheed or Olave from the Saints would have been
and Olave didn't end up moving, so it's like who knows what they were asking for him.
Right.
But Shaheed was available, and could they have maybe gone to a 3rd instead of a 4th? I'm not a GM. That's why I'm here. But I do think that it could. For the regular season, I don't think it's going to matter, but I can just see it in a playoff game. They're not going to have that one guy to go to, and it can be how many times does it come down to one play in these Chiefs-Bills games or whoever they're playing in the postseason, and they need one big play, and you're like, who do we go to?
Yeah.
Who's the guy? And is it going to be Dalton Kincaid? Is it going to be, James Cook obviously is the guy throughout the game, but on that one big 3rd and 8 when you need a first down or, that's where I kind of feel like that they don't have that guy, and they could look back on it and say, I wish we would have made a move here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. And you're right. This is the Bills are going to play someone good in the postseason. Obviously, that's just inevitable. It's the best of the best teams. But it kind of seems like whenever the Chiefs and Bills get together in January, the Chiefs have been the team to make the big play. And until the Bills do that, everyone's going to be wondering what could have been. Are they really that legit? And until they get over that hump, people are going to kind of question whether Beane has really gone all in on this team and whether McDermott can kind of get them there.
Now, you mentioned playing somebody good. They don't play anybody good this week. They play the Miami Dolphins. So that's good. There's that. They're going to Miami. It's a 9.5-point spread. I could see it being one of those games that's like weirdly close after a big Chiefs game where it's like, they just played the Chiefs and everyone's thinking the Bills are back, and all of a sudden it's like a 27-24 game that they pull out a win. Either way, they're going to win. That much is sure.
Heard it from a Dolphins fan first, folks.
And they need it because moving on to the Patriots get another huge win over the Falcons.
Yeah.
They maintain their AFC East lead, a slim lead, 7-2, 6-2 over the Bills, but they do have that win over the Bills that we mentioned a million times on this 10 for 10 program here. And again, it wasn't the most impressive win. The Falcons got back in the game, and if it were not for a missed extra point, we'd be talking about an overtime game. But again, they find a way to do it. They find a way to win, and Drake May looks good again. Not his best game, but still, they just find a way. And it's kind of the story of their season week in and week out.
Yeah, I mean, they did what good teams find ways to do, which is win when you have to. Find a way to make the big play when you need to. And yeah, it was a missed extra point this time around, but, I think the Patriots were the better team on Sunday, and I think that's one of the reasons they got the win. The other thing is, listen, Drake London had an unbelievable day. The guy caught 3 touchdown passes, had over 100 yards. I mean, sometimes a wide receiver on the other team just has a day like that, and you want to limit that? Yes, absolutely, because that's the sort of thing that can bite you, and it almost did. But once again, the Patriots found a way to win, and sometimes you got to win ugly. It's better to win ugly than, lose pretty, and Patriots found a way to grind one out.
So the Patriots have now won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just making sure 6 in a row. I think it ends this week. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're going to Tampa Bay in the Brady Bowl. The two teams that Brady played for. Buccaneers coming off the bye. We've seen a lot of teams coming off the bye and playing well, but the Buccaneers coming off a bye where they've been banged up, and they're not gonna have Mike Evans back, but they'll have some. Egbuka will be a little bit more rested. They'll get some guys back.
Yeah. Bucky Irving, whether he plays, that'll be a big deal. Whether Irving's in the lineup or not.
Yeah, but at home, I just feel like that's a spot where the Patriots run might come to an end. The Buccaneers are a really good team. I love Baker Mayfield. I'm a huge Baker Mayfield guy.
The Buccaneers are a really good team. I think you and I have had this conversation where he might be the one guy who I want more than anyone in a 2-minute drill down
I love
4
Baker
points. Yeah, listen,
I will say I could be biased in this because I love Baker Mayfield, but it's because he's playing really, really well.
He's having a phenomenal year.
So is Drake May. So.
I think this is probably their toughest test since they beat the Bills, and if they can go to Tampa and put up a good fight,
if they win in Tampa
and win,
then
they're launching themselves into that all of a sudden, not just the playoff conversation. But if the Patriots go into Tampa and beat the Bucs on the road, I think that pushes them to that next level in terms of where we're viewing this team.
Yeah, it is not a statement on the Patriots as much as it's just a spot. It's just a really good team coming off a bye. And all win streaks usually come to an end. The Patriots are not going to win out the rest of the year. They're going to get a lot of wins. They're not going to win out the rest of the year. So it's not a bold prediction. The Bucs are 2.5-point favorites, so it's not like I'm picking some underdog here. But we'll see how that plays out. We are going to take another quick break. When we come back, we are talking basketball. All right, we are back here on 10 for 10, and we are talking basketball. We're starting with the NBA. Again, we are very early in the NBA season, but you look at the Knicks, we'll start there. They, after losing 3 in a row, they've won now 3 in a row and done so pretty impressively. I mean, the Bulls, who had beat them, turn around, beat them by 12. The Wizards, I mean, no one's writing home about a win against the Wizards. But I think the Timberwolves game that they had on Wednesday night was very impressive. I mean, they were down 4 at the half and ended up winning 137-114. OG Anunoby's been fantastic. I mean, he had 25 points, just been playing stellar defense. How about Mitchell Robinson? He played 16 minutes in this Timberwolves game. He had 9 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, that'll help.
That is a crazy stat. I saw Mike Brown, the head coach, ask the reporters if they've ever seen that. And one reporter said, yeah. And he said, oh, yeah, where? And he's like, Mitchell Robinson. It's like, oh, yeah. Good one. So the Knicks, I think that this is a team that we are going to see play better and better throughout the season as they get more familiar and as long as they can stay healthy. I think Josh Hart, it was nice to see him score 18 points off the bench because they've been talking about how he has nerve damage in his hand and he can barely feel his hand when he's shooting the ball, which seems not good.
Right.
Like, we're in November, maybe, take it some time off, get some surgery.
To get that fixed,
we'll be fine without Josh Hart for a but I don't know. I give him credit playing through it. Deuce McBride's been awesome. It's kind of the same old with the Knicks. You know, there's not a lot of new ground to be broken, but they're now, I think one notable thing, 5-0 at home. So
they're 5-0 at the Garden is a good sign.
Or 0-3 on the road. So they're winning their home games. And I still think that down the road they might need 1 or 2, probably just 1 more bench piece. I think that'll really set them over the top, but they're looking good. Then we look at the Celtics, kind of what I think we'd expect from them. That just kind of uneven. I mean, they're 4 and 5 now. They
little up and down.
Yeah, they beat the Wizards, which again, no one's writing home about beating the Wizards. A loss to the Jazz, which is tough.
That was a tough one. There was that interesting no call where Jaylen Brown seemingly got tripped up in the final minute or so.
Yeah, you're hoping Jazz at home doesn't come down to the no call.
Yeah, this is true.
You're hoping Jazz at home.
This is true.
Listen, Danny Ainge, he's not playing. He's just in the front office. So, and a loss to the Rockets. But they are a team more so than the Knicks. The Knicks have just a new coach and a new system, some new pieces. The Celtics, it's going to be what we're talking about a lot. There are so many pieces that are moving around here that we're kind of going to be figuring out throughout the season and I think Missoula is going to be figuring out throughout the season.
Yeah, and I mean this may not be a team who really figures out how to play their best basketball until very late in the season, and if they figure that out at all, if they find that identity that they want to play with, I think we've seen them play very well. That 20-point win against the Cavs is obviously one that you look at and say, hey, that's exactly what we want to do. That's how we want to play basketball. Losing to the Jazz at home on the flip side. I think this is going to be a very up and down team this year. I think we're not going to see a lot of consistency, especially early on. I think it's just going to be a matter of, can this new look Celtics team find their groove in time to figure out what they have, figure out how to win consistently, and can they make a push to the playoffs, and do they need to add anything this year, and is it worth it?
All right, let's move on to college basketball because we could, again, NBA, we're early in the season. But college basketball underway. All of Siena, UAlbany, men's, women's, all have had their debuts. I was at the Siena men's basketball game, their debut against Bryant at home. So that's where I'm going to start because that was, to me, a super impressive game. I think we've heard a lot about this Siena team. It's out of the 4 teams, the teams that we can look at and we know what to expect because they were able to bring back more than anybody else. 4 of their 5 top scorers. It's a rarity in college basketball these days, and Siena was able to do it, and they were able to add some interesting pieces. They beat Bryant 82-66. Tasman Goodrick, who is a transfer from D2 Gannon University. I think he led D2 or tied for the lead in D2 in double-doubles. In his first game, he had 22 points, 11 rebounds on 11 of 14 shooting in 24 minutes. That'll get the job done.
Yeah, that'll play.
Efficient basketball. Justice Schultz, we know, 17 points, 9 assists. You have Schultz, you have Brendan Coyle, the Niskayuna native. You have Gavin Doty back. You have Marcus Jackson, who's coming off the bench right now. You have Riley Mulvey, who transferred in from Iowa, where people are familiar with. Then you add in Goodrick and Antonio Chandler. And, just watching, they had a lot of guys that you're looking at like, these guys can play. And they were picked to finish second in the MAC. This is a team that is for sure a contender. And there's a lot of basketball to go, but I think that they're the team to beat in the MAC.
Yeah, we talked about this throughout the offseason. We've talked to Jerry McNamara about this. We've talked a lot. There are high expectations for this team because of not only what they brought in, but what they brought back. You talked about the 4 out of their 5 leading scorers, Marcus Jackson as well. This team brought a lot back to the table, a lot of familiarity. Jerry McNamara knew what he was going to have in this team, and then he added to it. And then it was time to go prove it on Monday night, and they did exactly what you wanted to see them do, right? They spread the ball around, and this wasn't even like, a great game from Gavin Doty, right? And he was one of the key pieces who you're expecting to be a huge contributor to this team, and they still put on that type of performance. This was just about everything that Coach McNamara could have wanted to see in the season.
Now we got to move on because we got to hit these other ones real quick. But Siena women's basketball, they played Colgate, 53-43 loss. This is a team that kind of on the flip side of what we were just talking about, there's going to be a lot of growth that's needed as far as a lot of new pieces. You look at this team, and it is basically an entirely new roster outside of a piece or two. So that's a team that you're going to look at to grow throughout the season. You look over to the Albany men, kind of tough to judge because they were playing Marquette.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
A team out of the Big East, and they lost 80-53. They were only down 9 at the half. Amir Lindsay, who was all conference preseason, 20 points. I think they're a very talented team. It's just, it's tough to play Marquette.
Yeah, listen, we talked about it. Dwayne Killings wants this team to get tested. They did in game 1, and it's just the start of the season.
I think just like Siena, it's different because they didn't play. They played a really tough team. I think they're going to be a team that's contending in the America East. They play UMass tomorrow, so that'll be, I think, a tough game, but more of a fair shake of where they are. The other team that was very impressive to me is another game that I was at was UAlbany, the women's basketball team playing Marist. They win 74-46, and they have a lot of new pieces, more so than Colleen Mullen, the head coach, is used to. And we talked about before the game, should I expect the defense to be there? Offense, if we can control defense, offense, chemistry is going to come throughout the season. they looked great.
Yeah.
They looked great. I mean, they scored
Yeah.
74 points. Delaney Hill, who's one of the only top, only one of the starters, the only starter who's back from last season, scored 20 points. They had a freshman off the bench, Amaya Stewart, 17 points, 4 blocks, 5 rebounds. So they were very impressive. I know you talked to Colleen Mullen today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she seemed very impressed with the way they moved the ball, right? And, to your point about the chemistry, everyone seemed to fit in, and everything went smoothly. They'll get another test, Friday when this episode airs. Friday night, they're in Syracuse. That's a huge test.
That is going to be a tough test.
But, yeah, I think this, the team chemistry and the way they move the ball is, talking to Colleen, she seemed very impressed with how this offense ran and, kind of seemingly hit the ground running, especially with their ball movement.
And this is a very different Albany team, like we just talked about, with a lot of new pieces. Let's not forget that Albany beat Syracuse last year, 73-70. I think it's going to be a very motivated team in Syracuse. I don't think that they were necessarily thrilled to lose to a team in state that they think that they're not supposed to lose to. So it should be a motivated team, and we'll see how how they look, because that's again another tough test to see where they are. But they were very impressive, and I think that all of these teams are going to be fun to track throughout the season for differing reasons. But we'll do just that. But for now, we got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking hockey. All right, welcome back to 10 for 10, and we are talking college hockey, Union RPI, Capital Skates. The Skates stay in Union not because they won both games, but because that's where they were. They split the series. So I love it's like, we're keeping the Skates. It's like, well, they split the series. So they, RPI, they hadn't won a game all year, 0-6, really tough opponents. They came out hungry in that first game. They score a 5-2 win. They were up 3-2. They added too late. That was a great game. And then Union responds, wins 3-0. So I think no matter what side of the fence you're on, Union and RPI, I think you walk away feeling pretty okay with where you're at, splitting that series, RPI getting their first game, and then also, Union looking much better in that second game.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. The RPI coming out, winning that first game, and especially doing it against Union in the new M&T Bank Center, that's a really special win for Eric Lang and his team. And then on the flip side, Union probably didn't play their best game on Friday night. They came out, they controlled things. They won 3-0 on Saturday in the Houston Fieldhouse to split the opening weekend. I'm sure if you talk to Union, I'm sure if you talk to either side, they would have liked to have swept the weekend, but I think there are positives on both ends to take away from this, and now they both turn their attention to full-on ECAC play. Yeah, they both get St. Lawrence and Clarkson this weekend, so those will be games to watch. Move on to college football. UAlbany, another tough one. They lose 37-7. They are now 1-8. They've lost 5 in a row. They have not won a conference game. It's tough right now. They're playing Bryan at home this weekend, so hopefully they can score their first conference win of the season there at home. Going back to Union and RPI, though, I get this. We are looking like we were on a track for that Dutchman Shoes game to be possibly a playoff game to get into the playoffs. Yeah.
RPI, Union, both unbeaten. RPI has a big one against Ithaca this weekend. Ithaca at home. Ithaca only has one loss to Union. So if Ithaca could win that game, then RPI could then, if RPI then beat Union, there's a 3-way tie. Right. So what happens in a 3-way tie? I don't know. I've reached out to a couple parties to try. I've looked on the website. I've reached out to a couple parties to try to get an answer as to what happens if there's a 3-way tiebreaker. If it's just a tiebreaker, it's head-to-head. That's simple. If it's a 3-way tiebreaker, we're unsure. We're unsure. So I will speak for us here and hope that RPI wins, and then it could just be. And I'm an Ithaca guy. I went to Ithaca.
Yeah, you're an Ithaca alum.
So I'm a bomber, but it would make my life a little bit easier just to know that both teams are undefeated going into the final, and it would make that Dutchman Shoes game, which is already so much fun. That would be quite the game if it was with a playoff trip on the line.
Yeah, I mean, if both these teams take care of business, Union at Rochester, RPI, obviously the big one at home against Ithaca, they both take care of business this week, then, I mean, all the marbles in 2 weeks for Dutchman Shoes.
We got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we are going to preview 1st and 10, a big one. All right, welcome back to 10 for 10. And as we always do here on 10 for 10, we are ending things with a look ahead at 1st and 10.
All right.
Big games tonight in Section 2. We are in the semifinals, and it's our last full week of 1st and 10, which seems crazy. It has gone by.
Season has flown by.
It has flown by, and we have semifinal action tonight in Section 2. Our game of the week, Saratoga Springs and Shen, a game that we had a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's tough to pick in semifinal week a game of the week, but this one was close last time, and I think it's going to be close again.
Yeah, absolutely. These are two teams that are pretty evenly matched. I think this was a really exciting, great game 2 weeks ago. They're familiar with each other because they played 2 weeks ago. It's a game Saratoga jumped out to the early lead. Shen battled back. We'll see what happens this time. Both teams run the ball really well, so I'm excited to watch it.
Listen, there is going to be nowhere where you're going to be able to find more highlights in this area of Section 2 football than 1st and 10, and that's a Griffin Haas guarantee.
There
so
you
come
go.
on back tonight.
Heard it here first, folks.
11 on ABC, after college football on Fox for 1st and 10. This has been another episode of 10 for 10. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.